If there were a place in the world where you could store and protect the truth, it might be deep in the Rockies, in a field, on a ranch, in a silo, where an American patriot tells you what keeps him awake at night. Now, here is Medal of Honor recipient Drew Dix and words from the Silo.
Welcome, folks, to another episode of Words from the Silo. And, our last episode we did got pretty lively about the Department of Defense contracting, and got into that and said a few things that I got off my chest, and I slept better after that.
That's good.
Because maybe it was sour grapes, but we were trying to do a good job based on our skills and the reliance on our personal ability to survive on the battlefield as opposed to relying on technology. Relying on technology is going to be a dangerous thing, but that's our culture. And so our program today is to address our changing culture, and I'm not sure where this program is going to go, but a lot of what we're seeing right now in political divisiveness, some of the things that politicians are saying are so stupid in my mind. I guess it's because I'm old. I can't even comprehend why anybody would think I'd about that. I mean, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
So I guess I shouldn't have said that word, but anyway.
No, I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Made me laugh. I don't laugh very often.
Well, but the thing is our culture's changed, and all of this sexual orientation of the LGBTQ plus, and maybe I don't see H in there, like homosexual. I don't think they like that, but that's a scientific explanation for some of this stuff. People don't like it. So if you don't like it, you ignore it, right? Well, this isn't all about that transgender stuff and all that, but what this program, I think, is going to show is that we've got to talk about how we got to this point where it's victimization is one thing. All of those alphabets, people represented in that alphabet, are victims, I guess, if you don't believe in support what their mindset is. So that's one thing. And I'm not picking on them. I'm just picking on the overall culture now. It has affected everything we do in a country. It has affected our readiness because we're giving those an opportunity to be warriors, even if they haven't got a clue of what being a warrior is, but they like the word. So we're going to let anybody jump in and be a warrior by having quotas and that sort of thing. Well, thank God those things are going away and we're getting back to war fighting. But ever since, I don't know when it is that I heard the term woke the first time. I don't know. It was about 5 years ago. Or when was that? No, 4 or 5.
Oh, yeah.
No, more than that. It was 8 years ago.
Okay.
I think it was during the president before Trump the first time, 44 maybe.
Yeah. President Obama.
Was it Obama?
Yeah, it was before Trump.
Yeah, I knew that. But anyway, when I first heard that term, I said, what does woke stuff mean? But you know what? It's a clever term to simplify that whatever built this country, good and bad, I guess, because, we were built on some, the good and bad of everything. we're forgetting about all that, and we're now got the new generations. In fact, we got so many terminologies for different generations, I don't even know what they mean anymore. I thought I knew what baby boomers were and all of that, and I was depressed for a little while when I found out I'm not a baby boomer. That was before.
So what's that make you?
It makes me
The greatest generation? No.
Well, I don't know what it is, but when I found out my son was almost a baby boomer, I said, "Whoa!" But
You're the lost generation. That's
I'm
what it's called. I think it's called the lost generation.
lost.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that right?
I don't know. We have to look that up.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
But so we've tied generations, but now we've come. How many we got now?
Well,
We got millennials.
I'm a Gen X, and then
What is that? I mean, we got
The best.
millennials and Gen X's, so we're putting labels on everybody.
I think they went X, Y, Z, and the millennials were Y, and the Z was this Gen Z. I don't know.
Yeah, you're just trying to be too much of an academic, and it doesn't become you.
Well,
Brad.
I'm just giving you.
You're a
the facts.
coach. You're
Yeah.
not an academic.
That's
Come on.
right.
But
Don't ever call me academic.
Yeah. Okay.
I was
good.
a terrible student.
You got your glasses and
Yeah,
everything,
I look studious.
but no, I think we what we've got is a generation, and I was trying to figure out when this started. I don't think it just started 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I think it started a long time ago in the late 60s, and I kind of remember because I had two little kids and a book that was laying on a coffee table when I came home from one war zone was Dr. Spock or something, and this doctor wrote about how we ought to raise kids, and then there was a timeout thing and all that. I said, what is this? That doesn't work. Because they need to know. Kids need to know what's right or wrong. If they need to be able to respond that fast if they're in a danger situation, because you don't get time out if they're ready to cross the street. They got to know when you're yelling at them to stop,
Yeah.
to come back and not have to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, it's all about survival, and we've gotten away from that. The other thing that keeps me up at night is, and I saw this in the military towards the end when I got out, or not when I got out, but when I was still working, doing some training for the military. There's a tendency to not be able to deal with adversity.
Mm.
And one of the big examples of that is this suicide rate in our country. Oh my God, it used to be if somebody committed suicide in my day, younger day, it was like, wow, that was rare. And you didn't even have all the facts. Maybe they hid it somewhat, but it wasn't a lot of them, I guarantee you, so they weren't hiding the numbers. Now it's pretty common, and in the military, we were losing, 300 or 400 a year active duty or somewhere like that, like a
Recently, you mean?
part of suicide.
Yeah.
Not dealing with adversity. And it started with this idea that everybody gets a prize. Mm-hmm. And if they don't fail as a first grader, second grader, or whatever, they don't know how to fail.
Yeah, we had a program, if you remember, a few years back, we called it Facing Adversity. We were trying to deal with that because this has been a topic we've talked about in the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, whatever. The center's been around for 15 years, believe it or not, coming on our 15th year. So we've been dealing with that as it went towards the military. But adversity is an important thing to be able to face because you experience it not only in military, but in your regular life. You're going to always have adversity.
Well, yeah, Brad, and I see it on the battlefield. If you're always looking for someone to bail you out and they're not coming, what are you going to do, give up? I never saw that. One time in my career, and I was in a combat zone with draftees, and one young soldier, I'll remember his name, but I won't say it. He was 18 years old, middle of the night, and we're in the jungle, and one of my guys crawled over and says, so-and-so has turned a gun on us. He said he's going to kill us all, you know. What the heck was his problem? Do you know? I wasn't sure. I was kind of a new company commander there, so I didn't know everybody yet, and we didn't have a drug problem that I knew of. So I crawled on over there, and guys were trying to hold me back. I said, no, come on, I'll go on over there. So we were talking about dark and in the heavy elephant grass, and come up there, and I looked through there, and I said, what's wrong with you? Well, tomorrow we're going in there, I get killed. I said, okay, explain that to me, young man. You will get killed tonight if you turn that gun on us. And you might get killed tomorrow? Explain that to me. And the dimness of the moon, there was a little bit of moonlight shining through that jungle. I could see is something like the light clicked on, you know.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. He didn't say much. He gave I'm okay. And so I was crawling back, and the young buck sergeants, they were all draftees, even the sergeants. I said, are you going to take the gun away? They said, well, no, he's all right. How do you know? I said, he's all right. Forget it. And he did. We did, and got in there, and he made it. He got shot in the ankle. Same guy.
He did get shot?
Yeah, he did. Got shot in the ankle.
Nice.
And he got home because, you know, we couldn't keep him there. But anyway, my point is that's the only time in my 20-year career that I came across something like that was a suicide in my mind, because he was going to die, you know, by me or something if he turned that gun on his troops. But now it's just it's a common thing, and it's real. I'm not going to downplay suicides whatsoever. Don't get me wrong on this. It's a serious problem. I hate every time I hear of one that was a legitimate suicide, not a dumb thing went out of control, you know. Mm-hmm. There's a few of them, but so we can't deal with adversity. We make everybody victims. So are families doing it, or are schools doing it? Now, you were a coach, Brad, and did everybody get a trophy?
No.
Not on your team, right?
No, never.
And you were, what, number one in the state? How many years in a row?
3 years in a row, state champions, 1 year runner-up. I mean, we had a lot of success.
Yeah, and they didn't all get trophies.
No, I mean, you know, the best players played. Mm-hmm. You know, there wasn't it was just, and we had a lot of success. And, you know, and as you start to win, then you get more people want to be part of the program because they like that. But in sports, it's winning, you know. Nobody loses their life. I mean, in combat, there's more stress, right? Because a mistake on the battlefield, as you've told me many times, might cost somebody their life. So, you know, the stakes are a lot higher in warfare. But sports is probably one of the closest things we have to the teamwork and the preparation and the training that you have in civilian life that mimics maybe combat in a way, but not nearly as severe, obviously. But yet, and I'm sure there's people in sports that think they got done wrong or get depressed because they didn't make the team or whatever. But that there's adversity in everything you do. There's adversity.
Yeah, but the adversity is not dealing with adversity is affecting everything. It's dealing with young people trying to get jobs. They want to start at the top.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's a big problem because they don't know anything yet.
We've had interns from the college, you know, where they want to place an intern with our business, and they think they're supposed to come in and start running the show, you know, not apprentice. They don't have the internship doesn't have the apprentice mentality, but the apprentice mentality is, you know, go learn a trade or whatever, and you learn how to do something.
Well, I admire initiative and aggressiveness in the workforce somewhat, you know, to get the job done, but you also have to be able to learn how to do it.
Sure.
I mean, if you're, we get into the medical field, we not everybody can be a brain surgeon if they flunked biology.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, damn. But you know, we've got to get a handle on this, and I relate most of the things to the battlefield, and not being able to deal with adversity on the battlefield is a big problem. You can't hardly, um, when you go out on a combat patrol, and if there's 10 patrols going out at the same time, and if as soon as somebody's in contact, the others have to pull back because there's no immediate air cover. Well, that doesn't help anything. Maybe the enemy knows that.
Right.
And they'll attack at another spot. That's an oversimplification, but no, I can't think of any occupation where being able to deal with adversity is more of an issue than in combat.
Well, I think we've been touching on this today, though, maybe with today's culture or whatever, the changing culture, the reliance on tech and the immediate 24-hour news cycle and the immediacy of social media and networking that we get information so quickly now that it's maybe hard to, it's changing in the fact that you're making decisions quicker, and maybe you're making bad decisions because in our eras, maybe had time to think about it before you made a decision, but with tech so fast.
Well, the other thing is we've taken away the not the ability, because we all had the ability, to be able to learn how to plan and do things, because we're relying on this phone over here to make the deal, get forward, and not realize how you get there.
Sure.
We're getting sloppy.
Well, and some of it's good. We're getting sloppy, but we're also, it helps facilitate speed in good ways too. You don't have to start over every time, and the way to get contracts out, different things in your business. But obviously, that's all part of changing culture.
Well, the culture, the technology is a tool, and we treat it as a tool, but not as a crutch. And so, if on the battlefield, by dependency on this technology, and I'm not criticizing people just because I'm older. If I was born 20 years ago and I'm now 20, I'd probably be just like everybody else. I'm not saying that we were better. I'm just saying this technology and an explanation for everything, or an excuse for everything, is a cultural change that we have to deal with. We're not responsible for our own actions. I mean, people are getting obese just because they're falling victims to this look good, taste good food that's not good for you, right? So here we are in the 21st century, have everything, health-wise available, but we're not taking it. We have more jobs available right now, probably, than any time in our history, if you wanted a job. But if starting jobs are $20 an hour, I don't know where people are getting the money, but they won't start at $20 an hour unless they really like what they're doing, like some of the wait staff, and they make good tips. I don't even know what they get paid, but they obviously doing okay. But there's jobs going unfilled.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I don't know how the hell people can go out to eat.
Yeah. Well, it's inflation. I mean, our economy with the inflation and things like that. I mean, $20 an hour. I don't know if that's the new $3.35. When I was my first job, I made $3.35. I thought I was rich. Peter Piper Pizza.
You worked there?
Yeah, I worked at Peter Piper Pizza.
Well, I don't know how long $1 an hour was the norm, and that's what we got paid for most places, $1 an hour. And I had plenty of money.
Well, everybody should start in a job like that and I worked in another job like at an oil place that transported oil and things. And that's where I kind of wrote on a napkin my production company. because I didn't want to do that job.
Mm-hmm.
And so at work you kind of start thinking about, hey, is this where I'm going to end? But if you don't have jobs you don't like, then you never know what you really want to do. And so you got to have experience and things like that. But that's a different cultural thing.
Yeah, you have to experience things to say, I don't want to do that anymore the rest of my life.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
And now they're talking about they got to raise everybody's salary at McDonald's because they can't live off of McDonald's salary. Well, the whole idea was never to have a career job at McDonald's, maybe managing it.
Well, they better be careful because robots are coming, and robots are going to be making those Big Macs perfectly. And so, at some point here, there won't be a job at McDonald's anymore.
Well, who's going to get? What are we going to do? There's 330 or 40 million people in the United States, and they claim we need all these immigrants, illegals, to come in and do the work that we won't do. Isn't that arrogant?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see happen is people are going to own robots, and the robots are going to go to work, and they're going to sit at home,
get fatter and fatter and fatter.
I really think that's going to be a thing. They were talking about Tesla, and one of the programs is going to be where maybe if you buy a Tesla, they'll come up with a way to where your car can work for you at night, autonomous driving, picking people up like Uber, and then you get your car payment paid for. So you buy a car, and then it's earning money for you, kind of like solar panels, turning back the electricity. But that's pretty genius. But the car's going to go to work for you. Well, that's a good thing. I mean, if you can have an asset that you can monetize, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and you can go for $25 and buy a shovel and have it work for you too.
Well, that's true.
And then you get
some muscles,
get some muscles going,
get some fitness going.
But I think the culture's changing where a lot of people. There's always exceptions, but a lot of people are willing to blame somebody else and say, I can't do that because I don't. In fact, the other thing I've seen men do, boys, which I never would have entered that, they'd admit they can't do it. Mm. They cannot do it, and they take great pride in saying, we call somebody to do that for us.
That's tech. That's technology, too.
Yeah, we call somebody.
Yeah.
And
AI, I mean, people relying on artificial intelligence. It's nice. It's a great tool. I mean, I did a lot of my medical research for a medical issue I had. I mean, I'm on AI having a conversation with a computer.
Dr. Padula, you did pretty good.
Right. But that AI only knows what we know as humans by what we've experienced. So it's gonna level off at some point too.
Well, I think they're going to figure out how to make a decision too, based on facts, right?
Yeah.
They won't make a decision on wants, but based on facts.
So technology in combat, drones are becoming a thing. Are you afraid of robots? Robots in combat? We kind of talked about that earlier. Is that where the warrior ethos and force is going to come from? Do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think it's still going to, for a long time, it's going to require somebody to get in there.
Yeah.
I think you're right. We've got aircraft flying around. So, 20 years ago, I heard the Air Force, some people saying that there'll be pilotless aircraft. Well, they didn't use drones, the term drone, but it's the same thing.
That's what it is.
And it's happening. And we're not talking about these little Walmart drones.
No.
We're talking about the big ones.
Sure.
And they got aircraft are going to be delivering mail around Alaska and places. Kind of cool idea.
Really cool.
Yeah, but
Amazon was talking about it for packages. I mean, I don't know if they haven't deployed it yet. But, it's crazy.
But our culture is making us lazy, and people say, "Oh, I'm not lazy. I'll do this if I want to." No, that's.
Well, they have the augmented reality too, where you just wear glasses and you live in the metaverse, and you buy a property that doesn't even exist. I mean, pretty soon I can see you just being in a tube, and they're feeding you, and you're just watching your life that you don't even live.
And then you go and have to clean the corral out just because you don't get to smell it. And
yeah, that's not living. I mean,
no.
Now, of course, one of those cliche terms is somebody's watching this right now, some young person, and saying, "Okay, boomer," because that's a term where the younger generation just kind of says, "Oh, you guys are just old fashioned. You don't know what you're talking about." But and we're neither of us are boomers, but yet they have a term called "okay boomer."
I guess, but everybody older than 30 is a boomer to them because
That's right.
We're old. Because I remember when 28 seemed old. I had a sergeant in basic training that he was 28, and we all thought he was an old man.
Well, when you earned the Medal of Honor, you were 24, and you were the old man at that time,
well,
right?
Yeah, I was an old guy. But I think we've got to get a handle on this because the generations that are relying, because everybody wants to survive, I guess, live good, survive. Somebody has to protect you. Somebody has to provide their food and what you need to stay warm and shelter. Who's going to do that?
Right.
Somebody has got to do it. And so that's why I'm really pleased with what the center's doing. We're talking to young kids. We're not trying to convert them. We're not trying to do anything other than let them know that to achieve something, you need to put some effort out, and no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And so the center's doing a good job with that message. Like today, we have this kid coming by that wanted to bring his friends, to a birthday party at the Center for American Values from Denver, 110 miles away.
12 years old.
12 years old. Man, I can't think of a better message, our fulfillment of our mission than that. Because here's a 12-year-old that appreciates what someone else has done for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I don't know if we drifted from our changing culture, but this dependency on technology is also affecting the service industry. And that's another thing. How many of us have gone somewhere and wanted a question answered about a service, whether it's a government service they're providing us or whatever, and they don't know how to do it, or they don't look in the eye and give you an answer? You walk away with less information than you had when you went in there, or more about the incompetence of people. But
that's a lack of training, because people aren't getting trained and they might not know. But I would rather have a human there personally than a computer.
A human that give a damn.
Yeah, a human that knows what they're talking about. But the one thing that a business can monetize is if you can go to a kiosk and it gives you all the information. There becomes the problem, because it starts to dehumanize information, but at least it's accurate.
Yeah.
So that's changing culture. And I'm trying to think about, do I want to live in a world where the computer does everything for me, tells me where to go, when to go, here's where you drive, here's where you're going, put it in your navigation, get your phone, what am I doing next, when's my appointment, and all this stuff? Or do you want to explore a little bit as a human and go and take a chance? Before we had phones, if you wanted to meet up socially with people, you had to go find them.
Yeah.
That was part of the fun. And again, there's another okay boomer thing, but be careful what you wish for, because pretty soon you just be sitting at home. I remember one night when changing culture, my daughter's sitting on the couch on her phone, texting probably some boy or something, and everybody's like, "Oh man, that technology." I said, "At least she's home. At least she's not out doing what we were doing."
Oh, God, thank God.
At least she was on the couch on the device. I didn't mind that. At least I had eyes.
So the culture changed, and so we can't just say it's wrong. It happened.
Right.
And it's happened, and you can't blame everybody. Now, I think I'm patient with people that don't know the subject. If they don't know it and they try, I'm very patient. But if that's their expertise and they don't provide, that's tolerance. And you know what I think about that?
I do know what you think about that.
It's a damn character flaw. But patience is something that you apply to someone that doesn't know, or a baby or an animal that doesn't know. And it's a virtue to be a patient person. When are we going? I've a couple times every few months I'm on the phone trying to get something done, and the person will say, "Are you getting upset?" And I said, "Well, no, I didn't. I didn't think I was. I was trying to be civil because you have to be to get something done." And when they're really a compassionate person and they kind of understand my frustration, they say, "Well, I understand your frustration." I said, "Well, no, you don't." But and the reason why I'm frustrated, because I remember when it was different.
Yeah.
Because that's why old people have a problem in this newer generation. It's because we remember when you went to the courthouse or somewhere, they really tried to help you. Now I'm not saying that our courthouse they won't, but maybe that's a bad example here because it's a smaller town. But there's some places you go there, like at a hardware store where I guarantee you the instructions are to ask you if you need any help.
Yeah.
So you're looking for something, and 3 or 4 will ask you when you're walking in, "No, I'm all right." Because once you say yes, they don't know either. They get on the phone and aisle 6 needs some help over here. They don't know either. And they've just lost that ability or no, that desire to help somebody.
When you were younger, though, do you feel as though you kind of hit on it that older people, because they have experience and they've come from a longer time, that it's always been that way, that the younger, that they know better, they have gripe about the younger generation, or the younger generation doesn't understand? I mean, isn't that been a thing throughout your life?
Yeah, Brad, I absolutely believe my grandfathers and great-grandfathers probably said this young generation hadn't got it together. They didn't do what we did. And we didn't do what they did because it was tougher. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the conveniences. And the ones now didn't have the conveniences, or they have conveniences that we didn't have. Yeah. I remember outhouses.
Sure. Well, there's the joke. Farm, we walked uphill to school both ways.
Yeah, in a snowstorm.
Yeah, in a snowstorm.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
But so I'm very. I try to be very. I think this is where patience might be a good practice with the younger generation, because they haven't been told. They haven't learned because their parents didn't pass it on. And the parents, for some reason, from my generation to the next one, they almost felt like my kids aren't going to have to go through what I did. And I kind of got that from my kids. And I'm thinking, well, they didn't do without. Right. I thought they had a pretty good life. But there wasn't enough material things to want in those days. A bicycle, a blue or a red one, is pretty much limited to that. Toy guns or something, or maybe a truck or something. Now there's so much that young people feel like they have to have, and that's because of this phone and the internet. Sure. Or the computer says this is what's available.
Well, there's also status too with culture, and I got to have these things because this is what's the cool thing to have. Yeah. You used to only get that maybe out of a magazine every periodically, but now you get it every day. This is the cool shoes. This is the cool music. This is the cool whatever. And music, rock and roll for sure, it changes over the years, and then everybody wants the new thing. And that's always been all the way back to from when rock and roll started, that culture changes based upon music, and
it's been coming a long time, Brad. When you look at some of these god-awful examples of how people act in public.
Yeah.
We're talking about adults, someone in their 30s or 40s screaming and yelling and hollering at police or teachers or something. How else would the child react?
Well, that's the tolerance part that's happening in schools. There's a lot of tolerance. There's a lot of lowering the bar. And so when we get into our education episodes and stuff, we got a lot to talk about. But if the parents are letting down the kids, then the education system thinks it's got to come in and nanny the kids. And so you got to, but certainly the schools cannot be the parent.
Well, and the schools, absolutely, that's a whole nother subject. The schools have zero business in parenting.
Yeah.
Parenting, I guess that's right. Parenting. They absolutely don't have any business in that. They need to teach people how to read, write, use the numbers, and history, and maybe some geography.
Yep.
And then the kids can go out in the world and use that information. But right now, I don't know how much time they're spending in addressing cultural. We all know about the sexual orientation, gender stuff. Why did the schools ever think they need to get into that? We're probably one of the lowest in the bottom in the world.
Well, it's just one of those things. It's like they don't have to take that burden on. That's not their thing.
Yeah.
Just like we said at the center all along. Hey, this is what we do.
Yeah.
We're a nonprofit. We don't do everything for everybody. So, you got to stay in your lane, so to speak. And they should stay in their lane with the subjects. And, and tech's a thing in school. I mean, young people need to learn how to be the next people that are using tech.
Yep.
Because we can't just rely on the AI now that it's established and then that's it. Because if they don't keep developing tech, what's the next thing? They're not going to get there. And then we're going to get to a pinnacle and then start to have society go down. That's the problem with over progressiveness in culture. Just change for change isn't necessarily.
No, change for change's sake is a waste of time.
Right.
I guess that's why people with conservative values kind of liked it the way it was. Mm-hmm. They just didn't want change for change's sake. Yeah. But they've somehow, half the population, or a good number of it, figures conservatism is a bad thing. When really conservatism is just appreciate what you got and you want to keep it the same and maybe build on it a little bit.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I think we become the number one nation in the world as far as economy and strength. And how do we do that in a couple 150 years?
Yep.
Hard work. No, I think we've if I was a teacher and I really was a good one or wanted to be a good one, I'd be embarrassed to be put in a category of that they're talking about that we're the lowest standards in the world.
And teachers are kind of protected, so I don't know why the ones that maybe are on the right side of the aisle on this thing wouldn't speak up, because they're tenured. They're not going to get fired. The system, funny enough, protects them. Yeah. So I don't know why why they tolerate as well. Again, that tolerance,
Well, maybe it's because they've got a character flaw.
Correct.
And a union. The union is speaking for them.
Sure.
And the unions, in my opinion, the unions were there to make sure, I guess, that they got a fair pay and work conditions, not what's on the bookshelf,
right,
in the library. Here you hear the unions talking about what goes in the library. That's none of their damn business. Right. Well, the parents need to do that.
Sure.
And that's when they had a PTA. But right now, even that's another thing. PTA is pretty much gone. And so we are, as a society, is willing to let somebody else do it for us. Mm-hmm. And that's the vulnerability of this new what's going on. I just hope, I know it'll change someday. I don't think I'll see it. Maybe you won't see it. Maybe some of our staff here won't see it either. They're younger, and I hope they see it change. But it's going to change. What makes the change could be something devastating. I'm not talking about a war necessarily. I'm talking about a meltdown of something. that requires the strongest to survive.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
No.
That's the way it's going to be.
Survival of the fittest.
So all the listeners out there and other people, like if you're doing right, if you're teaching your kids how to think for themselves, how to be fit and strong, and keep them off that damn telephone, that smartphone, as long as you can.
Sure.
And I see some ranch kids out there, and they're pretty good about that. The wannabe ranchers that come in, they don't get anything done. They're sitting on their phone. I watch them next door where I live, and they got a group of kids come over there every now and then. You can tell which ones are the ranch kids and which ones are just taking underwater basket weaving as a course from school because they just on their phone leaned up against a truck somewhere.
All hat, no cattle?
All hat, no cattle, and pink tennis shoes with
short
sometimes
socks
with no socks.
Hey.
But anyway, this is a good topic. I don't know if we touched on all things because culture is something that's evolves, right? And it's evolving into something, boy, I hope it slows down because we can't handle exponentially getting deeper into dependence on. It all started with his Uncle Sam. We're going to have Uncle Sam out there, and I used to tell folk, he's not your uncle. He doesn't care about you. He's just a nice old man with a beard, and they make him friendly and whatever. Uncle Sam needs you. Well, it didn't work that way. You've got to depend on yourself. All these kids do, and it's up to them to make the change.
I'm not sure kids even know who Uncle Sam is anymore.
Well, I guess you're right, because I am old.
But Uncle Sam, the poster was "I Want You." That was the draft poster, right?
In World War I believe it was.
Yeah, I want
way
you.
back. And we still see it every now and then. They talk about Uncle Sam, and you pay your taxes to Uncle Sam or whatever. Everybody says, "Well, who's Uncle Sam?" Well, it was this nice old guy that was supposed to take care of you.
Uncle Sam's like the mafia, coming for his money.
Yeah, Uncle Sam. But anyway, we're going to have to get on this a little bit closer. But just for the record, I hate the term woke. I understand what it means. I don't like it because we need to know about what happened in the past. We don't have to say we now know better because the past is bad. Yeah. Some things in the past we don't want to brag about, but that's what made the future.
Yeah, you have to reflect on the past, otherwise history will repeat itself.
Yeah. I think as far as racial equality now, we're more equal now than we would have been 200 or 300 years ago, because there was people just because they were different. Right. And you have more of you than them, so you keep them over here, and you need somebody to sweep your floors or whatever. That's what the deal was about. And so we're now getting away from that. And if somebody wants to sweep the floors, they're usually hired to do it, right?
Contractor.
Oh, boy, that was another one. But anyway, Brad, this was a good subject. Again, I think we're going to get on it again. The other one we want to talk about in the next future is our medical situation. It's changed because it's all part of this wokeness. Even when doctors become woke, I mean, I'm not liking that too much.
Sure.
Because they're not looking out for you. They're looking at the numbers, and you're just another number that they can prescribe prescriptions to.
Right.
There's some good stuff out there, but you may not need it.
Absolutely. Hey, so to our viewers, make sure you subscribe to the channel, DrewDixPodcast.com. You can catch our stuff on YouTube, Spotify, all the normal platforms that you listen to us on. But we need, we'll hopefully like the show, subscribe to the show, ask your family and friends, send an email out, help us out, help us get more people if you're listening, because we really need you to help us get it out there to other people so we can continue to keep the lights on.
Yeah, and thank you, Brad, for your support to the center and what we do. And to those out there, just remember, tolerance is a character flaw.
Just because no one knows doesn't mean it isn't true.